Let me make sure I'm ready for this video real quick. Got my notes, check. Pepsi, check. Sunglasses, check. Hat, check. And yes, thick skin, check. Let's go. Welcome to Golden Bluted, everybody. If you are a college football fan, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button because that's all we do here. Videos every single day. And when you get a chance, go check out our Patreon page. We have a lot of great perks over there. We call our Patreons the shot callers because they call the shots around here. Remember, $5 and up Patreons will get to decide the game that we're going to live stream in the regular season, and you'll get to watch with me, Golden Bluted. And our score prediction contest will be coming back. Every week I'll pick out a game, and my Patreons will pick the score, and whoever comes close to the score wins $20. And you can win as many times as you want. The winners get paid at the end of every month. So for every dollar your membership is worth at the Patreon page, that's how many guesses you'll get on my score prediction contest. So right now is the best time to join Patreon page here at Golden Blue Dude. So the other day I did part 1 of the top 10 teams in the transfer portal and how much will those transfers help them going into 2022. I'm going to compare last year's record to my prediction. I could be wrong about my predictions. They might do better or they might do worse. But I'm going by what they've gained, what they've lost, and what the other teams look like. So I already did 10 through 6 and today I'm going to do 5 through 1. First up, number 5, Texas. They actually did pretty well in the transfer portal. Last year they went 5-7. A horrific start for Steve Sarkisian and losing to Kansas. They finished 7th in the Big 12, didn't get to a bowl. So here's a look at their schedule. I'm going to give you my prediction. Then according to that prediction, we'll see just how much the transfer portal helps. First game, UL Monroe at home. That's a gimme win. Then they get Alabama at home. And Texas will have faith that they can beat Alabama at home. Well, I'm here to tell you, Texas fans, you don't have any hope. It's not happening. Alabama will blast you in Austin. They get a tricky UTSA at home. One of the best group of 5 teams, but I'm giving the 50-50 win to Texas. Then they go on the road to a bad Texas Tech team. That is a win for Texas. Then they get West Virginia at home. This is a 50-50 football game, but I'm actually giving it to Texas. It's early in the season. It's at home. I think they'll have enough talent to beat West Virginia at home. Then they get the Red River rivalry against Oklahoma in Dallas. I think once again, Oklahoma will be the better team and will be better coached. So I'm giving Texas the 50-50 loss. After that, they get a bad Iowa State team at home. Iowa State is headed in the wrong direction. That should be a win. Then they go on the road to Oklahoma State. I do have Oklahoma State taking a step back, but this is a road game for Texas, so I have them losing to Oklahoma State on the road. Then they get a bye week. Then another road trip to a sleeper in the Big 12, and that's Kansas State. And I think Texas loses to Kansas State. Then they come back home to possibly the worst team in the Big 12 in 2022, and that's TCU, so I can give Texas the win there. Then they go on the road and get their revenge against Kansas. That's a win. Come back home and lose to Baylor. Baylor's just going to be that much better than everybody else in the Big 12. So I have Texas finishing 7-5. So I guess the transfer portal helps them a little bit, but nothing substantial enough to get them to a bowl. Number 4, Oklahoma. Oklahoma actually did better than Texas in the transfer portal. A lot of people are not talking about that. Last year they finished 11-2, 3rd in the Big 12. Here's what their schedule looks like. They get UTEP at home. That's a win for Oklahoma. Then they get Kent State at home. That's another win for Oklahoma. Then they go on the road to Nebraska. This is early in the year. On the road, Nebraska is a rival, and I think Nebraska beats Oklahoma this year, so you pick up an early season loss on the road. After that, come back home to Kansas State. This is a pivotal game for Oklahoma's season, because if this goes the other way, then Oklahoma's season will take a different direction than what I'm projecting. But I'm giving Oklahoma the 50-50 win here. Kansas State is more than capable of beating Oklahoma in Norman. They've done it recently, but I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to Oklahoma. Very pivotal game. Then they go on the road to a bad TCU. I think Oklahoma wins that comfortably. Then they get Texas in the Red River rivalry in Dallas. You already know my thoughts on that. I think Oklahoma will be the better team, better coached. I'm giving them the win in the 50-50 game there. Come back home to Kansas for an easy win. Then they get their bye week, go on the road to a bad Iowa State. Ames can be tricky, but I think Iowa State's just not going to be very good. Maybe a bowl team. So I'm giving the 50-50 win to Oklahoma. Come back home to Baylor. Since this is in Norman, I'm actually giving the win to Oklahoma. Baylor's going to be a really good team. This is going to be a hostile environment, and Oklahoma will be looking for revenge from last year. Then Oklahoma goes on the road to West Virginia, and I do think this is the year that West Virginia breaks the streak against Oklahoma in the Big 12. I think West Virginia has enough talent. It's on the road, hostile road environment. I think West Virginia wins the 50-50 football game. Then they come back home to Oklahoma State. I do have Oklahoma State taking a step back, so I'm giving Bedlam to Oklahoma this year. And then finally on the road to a bad Texas Tech team. So I have Oklahoma finishing 10-2. So maybe the transfer portal doesn't help them take the next step in being better, but it keeps them from falling off. So I will say it helps. And don't forget, we have a great website designed and created by Joey Foster, so go check that out when you get a chance. Number 3, LSU. They did very well in the transfer portal. Last year they finished 6 and 7, last in the SEC West. That tells you how tough the SEC West is. The last place team still made a ball. Here's a look at their schedule. Florida State in New Orleans. Hey, this is basically a home game for LSU, so I'm giving the win to LSU in a 50-50 game. Then you get FCS Southern at home. That's an easy win. Mississippi State at home. If this were on the road, could be tricky, but I'm giving the win to LSU. Then you get New Mexico at home. That's an easy win. You go on the road to Auburn. This will be a test, but I don't think Auburn is going to be that much better than what they were last year, and I think LSU will be much better. So I think LSU goes on the road and beats Auburn. They come back home to Tennessee. Now, if this were a road trip, I'd actually give the win to Tennessee. But this will probably be a night game in Death Valley, so I got to give the edge to LSU. Then they go on the road to Florida, and LSU, they've just had Florida's number. I do expect Florida to be a tad better, and I do think Billy Napier will get Florida back on the right track. But for this year, I have LSU going on the road and beating Florida. Then these next 2 games are tricky, but doable. First, they get Ole Miss at home, then a bye week, and then Alabama at home. I think they win one and they lose one of those. I don't know which one is which, but I'm saying they split those 2 games. After that, I think they go on the road and lose to Arkansas. Arkansas is still going to be good. Hostile road environment, I think LSU falls. And they come back home to UAB, that's a win. Then back on the road to another hostile environment, and I think they lose to Texas A&M. So I think LSU goes either 8-4 or 9-3. I'm actually leaning more towards 9-3. So from 6 and 7 to 9-3, yeah, the transfer portal definitely helped LSU in a significant way. Number 2 in the transfer portal, Ole Miss. Last year they finished 10-3, second in the SEC West. Here's a look at their schedule. They get Troy at home. That's a win. FCS Central Arkansas. That's a win. On the road to Georgia Tech. Might be a 50-50 football game. I don't know, but that's still a win. Come back home to Tulsa. That's a win as well. And they get a home game against Kentucky. If this were on the road, I'd probably give it to Kentucky. This is at home. I don't think Ole Miss is losing to Kentucky at home. Then they go on the road for an easy win on the road, Vanderbilt. Come back home to Auburn, and I think home field advantage is enough for them to beat Auburn convincingly. That's a win. It's these next 3 games that will determine their season. At LSU, at Texas A&M, then your bye week, and then Alabama at home. I think you win at least one of those 3 games, but I don't think you're winning any more than one. So I think you go 1-2 in that stretch. After that, on the road to Arkansas, and I think Ole Miss is talented enough to go on the road and beat Arkansas, then back home to Mississippi State for a rivalry game in which I think Ole Miss wins that as well. So I think Ole Miss goes either 10-2 or 9-3, and since I think they're going to go 1-2 in that pivotal stretch, Ole Miss, I think, is going to be a 10-win season again. So the transfer portal does help Ole Miss, but being in the SEC West and that brutal schedule, it might not look like it's helping all that much. But trust me, it helps. That is a brutal schedule. Going 10-2 is an accomplishment. And finally, number 1, USC. They basically won the transfer portal. Last year, they went 4-8, 4th in the Pac-12 South. Here's a look at their schedule. They get Rice at home. That's an easy win. Then a pivotal game on the road to Stanford. I think USC has enough talent to where they can go on the road and beat Stanford. That is a tough matchup for USC. Stanford always gives them trouble. But I'm giving USC the benefit of the doubt and giving them a win. After that, another test, but this is at home. Fresno State is not a gimme game. However, I think USC has enough talent to beat them at home. Then they go on the road to Oregon State, who they lost to last year, but I think USC will be much better, and I do think they go on the road to Corvallis and beat Oregon State. After that, they get Arizona State at home. Arizona State is going to take a nosedive this year. That's an easy win for USC. Washington State could be a bowl team, but this is at home. I'm giving the win to USC. Then a tough road trip to Utah. This is where I think USC picks up their first loss, and it could be a convincing loss. Utah's pretty good, and it is on the road. After that, they do get their bye week. Then another road trip to Arizona. Arizona will be better, but USC will prevail. That's a win. Then they get Cal at home. I think that's a win for USC. Colorado, a bad Colorado at home. That's a win for USC. Then on the road to rival UCLA, and I think this is where USC picks up their second loss. So 2 losses, both on the road. Not bad. Finally, Notre Dame at home. And I think USC might surprise people and beat Notre Dame at home. They're just too talented. This is at home. Season finale, rivalry game. I think USC gets the win here. So I have USC finishing 10-2. So going from 4-8 to 10-2, the transfer portal significantly helps USC this year. So I think the honeymoon for Lincoln Riley at USC is going to be tremendous. It's what he does after year one. Can he get USC to the playoffs? Can he win a playoff game? And can he win a national championship at USC? Those are the questions that will be answered after year one. So for Texas, I think the transfer portal helps them get to a bowl maybe. For Oklahoma, the transfer portal keeps them from falling. For LSU, the transfer portal helps them to have a much better year. And for Ole Miss, the transfer portal helps them navigate through a brutal schedule in 2022. And then USC, I think the transfer portal helps USC in the most significant way, more than anybody else. So y'all let me know in the comments section what you think about this, what teams I'm right about, and what teams I'm wrong about. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.